Right, we're into a proper week now, folks. Monday the 18th of August, and things are starting to pick up serious pace for Celtic. The warm-ups are done, the preambles are over, and now it's time for the season to really kick into gear. The first real European hurdle is approaching, and it's one we absolutely cannot afford to trip over. Kairat are on their way to Glasgow. Could be landing any minute now, and by Wednesday night we'll know a lot more about where this Celtic team stands. The stakes are massive. Now, this isn't just another game under the lights at Celtic Park. It's potentially the defining moment of the entire season. And listen, while we've been building up to that, there's still plenty to take from Friday night's performance against Falkirk. A comfortable 4-1 win on the scoreboard, but what matters more is what we saw on the pitch, especially in that midfield. Folk were quick to fire in their opinions after the final whistle, and some of the takes have sparked a few good debates. One comment that really stood out was someone saying that Reo Hatate wasn't missed at all, and that the team actually flowed better without him. That's a bold claim, maybe even a bit harsh considering Hatate's been a standout player across last season and the start of this one, but it does speak to something interesting. The midfield was slicker on Friday, no denying that. Part of it maybe is down to how Falkirk approached the game. They came to play, unlike St. Mirren or Aberdeen who sat deep and absorbed. That difference always affects how Celtic look. But even so, the ball movement was sharper, and that comes down to personnel as well. Luke McCowan deserves a mention here. I'm not saying he's in contention to start against Kairat, but the way he moved the ball alongside Callum McGregor was really refreshing to see. The tempo was high, the transitions were smooth, and for once it didn't feel like we were stuck trying to pass our way through treacle. Now, when you look at this squad, especially the midfield, there's real depth there. 6 proper midfielders all pushing for a place. It's a luxury, especially when you look at some of the other areas in the team that maybe don't have that same level of options. The key now is rotation. Keep things fresh, keep legs moving, and don't let it get as stale as it did in the final few months of last season. As for Wednesday night, 2 spots in that midfield are already locked in. Callum McGregor, of course, and Reo Hatate, despite the earlier criticism, is surely nailed on to start. So it really comes down to who grabs that final slot. And this is where things get interesting, because Ari Engels has made a strong case. He was tidy on Friday. Not flashy, but certainly eager, focused, and very much up for the fight. The fact that he looked gutted when Yang's cross turned into an own goal instead of finding him, even though we just scored, tells you all you need to know about his mentality. He wants to make an impact. He wants to be the man. Some are saying Engels should keep the shirt for Europe. He's our one true dead ball specialist, and we know how vital that can be in tight continental matches. Corners, free kicks, those are the moments that turn games when things are otherwise even. He's also tactically smart, reads the game well, and fits naturally into that left-sided role. Pair him with Benji Negron and put Kak just behind, and suddenly you've got a balanced, versatile trio that can do real damage. But then, there's Negron himself, solid, composed, and arguably more in tune with the kind of possession-heavy game Brendan Rodgers tends to prefer in Europe. Engels played in 9 of our 10 Champions League games last season. Let's not forget that. And a lot of folk reckon that was his best run of form since arriving. It's a proper debate. I wouldn't be shocked if Engels got the nod, but if I had to guess, I'd say Brendan leans toward Negron. He seems to prefer that stability and control, especially when we're likely to have more of the ball. Dead balls, though. We've missed that edge for ages now. When was the last time Celtic scored a direct free kick? Not one that was laid off or passed into space. An actual curled over the wall belter. Feels like it's been years, Magos. Nearly pulled one off against Falkirk, a real screamer from out wide. If that had gone in, it would have been goal of the round, no question. So if we're going into a European night with everything on the line, having someone like him who can pull a rabbit out of the hat from a set piece, that's a weapon you don't ignore. Further up the pitch, the striker situation's still a bit murky. Adam, Ida, and Johnny Kenny have both had their chances, and neither has really convinced so far. Kenny got minutes on Friday and didn't do much. Ida had his chance against Aberdeen and looked a bit lost. A lot of fans are calling for Shen to start, not just for the Kierat match, but definitely for Livingston on Saturday. Let the lad have a proper run and see what he can do. If nothing else, we need fresh legs and someone with the hunger to grab the opportunity. That's what Shen seems to offer right now. Now let's talk about the fullbacks, because that's another area folk were buzzing about. There's a growing opinion that this is the best fullback pairing we've had in years. Tierney's been on fire. Honestly, it's mad how good he's been. I said last week that he's been our best attacking player so far this season, and he's a left back. He's flying down that wing every chance he gets. But after the game on Friday, Brendan Rodgers made an interesting point. He reckoned we were throwing in too many crosses, becoming predictable. Said he wanted to see more variation in our attacks. And that's a fair call, because it did feel a bit one-dimensional at times. Now, to be fair, if you've got someone like Giorgos Giakoumakis in the box, that strategy probably pays off a lot more. But still, Brendan's got a vision for how this team should play. And just lumping crosses in all game, isn't it? It's going to be interesting to see how that evolves over the next few matches, especially down that left side. And I've got to mention Friday night itself. There was just something different about it. Maybe it was the lights, maybe the energy of the cup, but it felt like there was an edge in the air. 43,000 in attendance isn't a sellout, but it felt full, it felt loud, and it felt like a proper Celtic Park night. And that's what we need on Wednesday. Make it uncomfortable for Kirat. Make the atmosphere electric. Make them wish they never left Kazakhstan. Now, while all of this was going on, fans have been buzzing, and in some cases fuming, about changes inside the stadium. The club's been putting up barriers to prevent crowd movement in certain areas, particularly near the standing section. Fans aren't happy. Some are saying it's ruining their match day experience, making it harder to meet mates or even get to the loos and food kiosks. The club claims it's for safety, but many are saying it's doing more harm than good. And yeah, there's the bigger debate brewing again about expanding the standing section. There's clearly more demand than space right now. To top that off, folk in the main stand are raging after discovering their view is now blocked by the new, taller dugouts. Imagine waiting all summer to return to your seat just to find a big plastic wall in the way. That's the kind of stuff that drives fans up the wall. You pay good money for your ticket and then you're told, sorry, your view's gone. Not good enough. And just before we wrap this bit, there is transfer talk. Though I'll warn you now, there's not much to report. It's been painfully slow. We've got 2 weeks left in the window, and we still need several key signings. There's been some buzz about Calvin Stengs, the Dutch winger currently with Feyenoord, and apparently Celtic have reached out to his reps to gauge interest. No official contact with the club yet, though. He'd be a big signing, Champions League experience, Dutch international, pacey and technical. But given our recent track record, I'm not getting my hopes up until he's standing at Lennoxtown, holding the scarf. We're running out of time, and the worry is we'll end up scrambling in the last 2 days trying to fill 3 or 4 gaps in the squad. That's not how serious clubs operate. Brendan's been saying the same thing for weeks now, and nothing seems to be shifting. Let's hope that changes soon, because once this tie against Kirat is done, whether we're heading for the Champions League or the Europa League, we need to be ready. And speaking of that tie, it's massive. I'll get more into it tomorrow, but just know this, Wednesday night isn't just a game, it's a statement. Celtic need to show Europe, the fans, and themselves that they're ready to compete at the highest level. Right then, let's get back into it, because this week's only getting bigger and there's still loads to unpack. We're just over 24 hours away from that first leg at Celtic Park against Kirat. And if it wasn't feeling real yet, it sure as hell is now. The players are back in training, Brendan Rodgers is fine-tuning the plan, and across the city there's this rising tension in the air. You can sense it building with every passing hour. This is it. This is the start of the season that really matters. Domestic form is one thing, but Europe is what defines Celtic on the bigger stage. Let's not dress it up. We've got to get through this tie. There's too much riding on it. And it's not just about the financial boost, though. That's obviously massive. It's about the status, the excitement, the noise. The idea of Champions League nights under the lights at Parkhead, it means everything to the fans. It's what this club lives for. And it all begins tomorrow night. Now Kirat on paper might look like a favorable draw. But nothing's guaranteed in these qualifiers. We've been stung before. These teams from Kazakhstan, they're tough, they're disciplined, and they play with a chip on their shoulder because nobody gives them a chance. That makes them dangerous. You think back to teams like Shakhtar Karagandhi, and you remember how close we came to disaster. The travel, the conditions, the physicality, it's all part of it. And once again, the message has to be clear. Do the business at home. Build a lead. Make the return leg manageable. Now, we've done a bit of digging on Kirat, and let's be honest, there's not a massive wealth of info out there. But what we do know is this. They've been on the road constantly. Slovenia, Finland, Slovakia. They've clocked up some serious air miles already just to get to this round. That kind of travel takes its toll. They played in Bratislava just last week. Lost a 2-0 lead at home at the weekend, and now they're heading to one of the most hostile atmospheres in European football. This is where Celtic have to pounce. High intensity from the start. Don't give them a minute to breathe. The Celtic squad will be desperate to show up. Players like Callum McGregor and Rio Hatari know how crucial this is. They've played in these qualifiers before. They know the weight of the moment, and they'll need to carry that into every tackle, every press, every pass. But, as we said earlier, the big debate is around who joins them in midfield. It could go either way. Engels brings that set-piece threat, that drive, that bit of European experience from last season. Negron offers a bit more composure, control, maybe a safer pair of hands in terms of how we manage possession. There's no wrong choice here, but it's got to be the right one for this match. Because if we control the middle of the park, we control the tie. Out wide, there's still a lot of frustration. We're short on options. The transfer market's been far too quiet. Everyone's waiting for that big attacking signing to come through, but it feels like we're just treading water. Brendan's clearly getting tired of repeating himself every week in the presses. He wants signings. The fans want signings. The players probably want them too. And yet here we are, still speculating while other clubs move ahead. That's what makes this match even more important. If we get through it, you hope it'll give the board the jolt they need to actually push some deals over the line. Because right now, this team needs help. You can't expect to compete on multiple fronts with just one or two reliable attacking options. We saw it on Friday night. Ida and Kenny still haven't taken their chances. The quality's not there at the moment. And that's not to slate the lads individually, but it's just the reality of what's in front of us. You want someone who can bury a chance when it falls. You want a striker with presence, with confidence. And right now, that's not something we've got in abundance. A lot of fans reckon this is the moment for Shen to come into the side. Maybe not from the start on Wednesday, but certainly against Livingston. Give the lad minutes. Let him build momentum. Because when we go to Kazakhstan next week, we're going to need every fit and firing body we've got. And if he's informed by then, he might just be the difference between going through or going out. At the back, things have looked mostly solid, though there's still some concerns. The fullbacks have been getting praise, and rightly so. Kieran Tierney, as we've said before, has been outstanding. But the issue now is balance. Brendan doesn't want us to become predictable, especially not when we're up against teams that sit deep and try to frustrate us. That's why we've got to be smart with how we attack. Mix it up. Cutbacks, 1-2s, balls over the top. Just throwing it into the mixer isn't enough anymore. Another thing that popped up over the weekend, and it's got a lot of fans talking, is the atmosphere inside the stadium. Friday's match had that proper edge to it. It felt big. Even if it was just a cup tie against Falkirk, there was something about the floodlights, the crowd, the energy. It felt like Celtic Park was waking up again after the summer. You could feel that sense of occasion. And that's exactly the kind of energy we need tomorrow night. Make it uncomfortable for Kirat. Make it hostile. Let them know they're not in Almaty anymore. But it's not all been good news when it comes to the stadium. Fans were quick to vent their frustrations about the new barrier installed around sections 112 and 113. The club says it's about safety, preventing overcrowding, and keeping fans in their designated areas. But many supporters are saying it's made things worse, not better. It's blocked movement around the ground, made it harder to grab food or meet up with mates, and has changed the whole match day experience. Folk who've been walking those concourses for decades now find themselves restricted, and it's not going down well. Then there's the situation with the dugouts. Over the summer, the clubs replaced them with taller structures, and they're now blocking the view for a chunk of supporters in the main stand. Imagine turning up for the first home game of the season and realizing your sightline's completely gone. You'd be absolutely raging, and rightly so. It's one of those decisions that makes you wonder what the thinking was. You're paying good money for those seats. the least you expect is to see the pitch. And when you stack that on top of a quiet transfer window, it's not hard to see why some fans are beginning to lose patience. There's a feeling that the club's drifting at the moment. No clear direction, no big statement signings. And now these matchday issues as well. It's not just about the football, it's about how the fans are treated, how the whole matchday experience is handled. That's got to be better. But here's the thing, we can fix a lot of this with a performance tomorrow night. One of those big Celtic nights. The kind that drowns out all the noise, unites the crowd, and puts a marker down. You're right on no mugs, but this is our house. And if we go out there with intensity, with purpose, with real fire in the belly, we can blow them away. We've got to make Celtic Park a fortress again. We got to bring that energy, that noise, that wall of sound that used to intimidate the best teams in Europe. That's how we get through this tie. And from there we push on. Because after Kirat is Livingston, then the return leg away, then Rangers, and then somehow the international break already. The season's coming thick and fast, and every game matters. Even after the break, we've got massive fixtures lined up. Kilmarnock away, possibly a Champions League opener if we get through this round, and then Partick Thistle in the League Cup. The calendar's already packed, and the margin for error is tiny. That's why Wednesday is more than just a qualifier. It's the spark. Win it, and everything opens up. Lose it, and suddenly the pressure ramps up tenfold. You've got to think the players feel that too. Alistair Johnston said as much recently. This is the start of something serious. These are the nights you live for as a footballer. And I don't think Karat will know what's hit them once they step out into the noise of Celtic Park. It's not arrogance, it's belief. Belief in what this team can do when it's firing. We saw glimpses last season. Against Slovan Bratislava, we were electric. If we can tap into that same energy, that same sharpness, we'll be just fine. And that's the hope. That tomorrow night, we remind ourselves and everyone else what Celtic is all about. But that means being ruthless. It means taking chances, defending with purpose, and not letting up for 90 minutes. Because these ties can swing on the smallest things. A lapse in focus, a set piece not defended, a missed sitter. We can't afford that. Not now. Not when there's so much on the line. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers have begun to spread like wildfire across Glasgow. And though no official statement has been issued, the talk among supporters is that Celtic FC have secured none other than Virgil van Dijk to strengthen the defensive line. For many who follow the boys week in and week out, this rumor sounds almost too grand to be true. Yet the fervor in the pubs, the chatter on the terraces, and the endless exchanges on supporters' forums suggest that something remarkable may indeed be unfolding. The suggestion is that the club, often scrutinized for failing to land marquee names in recent seasons, has taken a bold step to restore its image as a true powerhouse within the Scottish Premiership and beyond. If the murmurs are accurate, the timing could not be more significant, for the team has shown both resilience and vulnerability in equal measure, with fans demanding not just victories, but authority, dominance, and European relevance. To imagine Van Dijk, once adored during his first spell in green and white, patrolling the backline again is to imagine a squad infused with the kind of steel and leadership that has too often been missing since his departure. The alleged agreement is framed as nothing less than a statement of intent. The kind of declaration that Celtic are no longer content simply to fend off domestic rivals, but aim to re-establish themselves on the continental stage. Followers of the Scottish game recall with fondness how Van Dijk originally blossomed at Celtic Park, a towering presence whose composure, vision, and aerial command drew admiring glances from every corner of Europe. Should he truly return, whispers say the Parkhead faithful would not just welcome him as a signing, but revere him as a prodigal son coming home to settle unfinished business. Questions swirl around the finances, of course, with skeptics noting that wages at such a level could prove astronomical for a club of Celtic size. Yet optimists argue that sponsorship deals, European incentives, and creative structuring could make the impossible possible. Football, after all, is as much about daring ambition as it is about balance sheets, and the scent of possibility has been enough to ignite passionate debates late into the night. Some say it is the boldness of even entertaining such a move that reveals Celtic's hunger for more than domestic supremacy. The rumor alone has already shifted the atmosphere around Lennoxtown, with reports, unconfirmed though they are, suggesting that players have felt a jolt of energy at the prospect of sharing a dressing room with such a figure. Van Dijk's reputation as one of the finest defenders in world football precedes him, and for young prospects rising through the ranks, the opportunity to train alongside him would serve as an education in professionalism, discipline, and composure under pressure. For the veterans in the squad, his arrival would signify not just a reinforcement, but a message that Celtic intend to surround them with the quality needed to push far beyond the comfort of local glory. Discussions have even touched on how his presence could alter tactical shapes, with the backline given greater freedom to advance, midfielders encouraged to press higher, and attackers offered the reassurance that defensive solidity will allow for riskier forward play. Even if Van Dijk himself has offered no public comment, the impact of his potential signing is already reverberating, creating ripples across the league, where rivals are said to be both alarmed and begrudgingly respectful at the sheer audacity of the move. Some insiders whisper that this rumor, far from a fanciful dream, is rooted in personal connections and emotional ties that stretch back to his first Celtic spell. They suggest that Van Dijk never lost affection for the supporters who sang his name, nor for the stadium atmosphere that remains one of the most electric in world football on European nights. A return, then, would not merely be a transaction, but a reunion, a rekindling of loyalty and unfinished aspirations. Many point out that for players at the peak of their careers, decisions are not always dictated solely by money or medals, but by sentiment, legacy, and the desire to leave a mark where it matters most. Should the talk prove true, it would instantly elevate the stature of Scottish football on the global stage, forcing analysts to reconsider assumptions about its appeal. The gossip grows each day, with some swearing that advanced negotiations are quietly ongoing, while others caution that it may be nothing more than a fanciful tale inflated by hope. Still, the buzz is undeniable, and the sheer persistence of the story has given it a legitimacy of its own. In the end, whether the signing is confirmed or dismissed as fantasy, the rumor has already achieved something vital. It has reignited belief, excitement, and conversation at a level that Celtic have not witnessed for years. The supporters, long accustomed to domestic dominance, yet yearning for a European breakthrough, have found in this story a spark of what football is truly about: the capacity to dream, to hope, and to envision greatness. For journalists, pundits, and rival fans alike, the mere notion of Virgil van Dijk returning to Celtic Park challenges assumptions about the boundaries of ambition in Scottish football. What remains to be seen is whether this is the dawn of a new chapter or simply a summer tale destined to fade into the background once the season begins. Until clarity emerges, the speculation itself is fuel enough to sustain debates, to fill columns, and to inspire songs of anticipation. The possibility of his return hangs over Glasgow like a misty morning, impossible to ignore, shaping moods and sharpening expectations, leaving all to wonder whether dreams sometimes do come back in green and white. Lo, fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.